Okay, first things first. I obviously did not get to see Gemini Man this weekend. The theaters were closed because of the snowstorm. It was mostly over on Saturday, but there was still just enough remnants around to make things really difficult. The interstates were closed until the late afternoon, so it's kind of understandable. But still, I had things to do on Sunday. Obviously, I'm doing this on Monday, so I will try to see it Tuesday night and get the review up on Wednesday, if that's possible. Anyway, moving on to the second night of the WWE draft, which was on Monday Night Raw. We did actually have some bonus picks. I don't know if these are technically draft picks or not, or these are free agents who got to choose the brand of their own, because a couple of the tweets didn't seem that way. I guess these were just bonus picks. EC3 went to Raw, Apollo Crews went to SmackDown, Eric Young went to Raw, Drew Gulak went to SmackDown, Sin Cara went to Raw, and then the next three, that was Heath Slater, Tamina, and the B-Team, all went to SmackDown. Nothing really spectacular here. Probably the big one would be Drew Gulak going from the Cruiserweight division to SmackDown. No NXT call-ups. Again, don't know what the deal is with the NXT and the Cruiserweight, because they're still doing 205 Live, at least for the time being, but Leo Rush just won the Cruiserweight Championship on NXT, so I guess it's an NXT brand now. Anyway, again, some of these ones I'm not entirely sure. EC3, I think, was on Raw? Or was he on? Yeah, I can't remember. Eric Young was on Raw, so that's not a draft pick. And yeah, unfortunately, this is the real motif of this show, unfortunately. Yeah, again, draft picks that aren't draft picks because it's not people switching brands. Anyway, initially the opening match for Raw was going to be much like the opening match for SmackDown, a match to decide who got to pick first. It was going to be between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks, but Sasha Banks is still injured, it's listed as a tailbone injury, and it does seem that she is legit hurt, like something is keeping her out. So they replaced Sasha Banks with Charlotte Flair. Opening up, Charlotte said, hey, look, we've been through so much, I'm just trying to be your friend on this, I'm no more of this, but you make it so dang hard, and then she sucker punks Becky. But all in all, Charlotte hit some type of maneuver, I can't remember, it was not the natural selection, I think it was a big boot, got a roll, got the cover, but only got a 2 count, and was very frustrated when she got up. She was kind of complaining a little bit, and that allowed Becky to snooker her into a crucifix pin for the 3 count of the victory, so once more Raw gets the first pick, even though SmackDown is supposedly supposed to be the A show now. Okay, anyway, so Raw gets the first pick on both nights. Their first pick is Seth Rollins to Raw. After that, it's Brock Lesnar to SmackDown, neither of which are draft picks because they're already on those brands. And I'll try not to hammer that home too much, but yeah. Then we actually did get a draft pick. Charlotte is now going to Raw from SmackDown. After that, New Day was drafted by SmackDown. You get the point. And then Andrade and Zelina Vega were drafted to Raw. And again, I believe they were already on Raw. So after that, we then got Andrade with Zelina Vega coming out. Zelina ran down the other 4 horsewomen, calling them the 4 horse faces. It's coming out for a match, but we didn't see who the opponent was until after the commercial break, and it was Ali, and the match had already started. Yeah, he doesn't even get an entrance out of this. Like, well, why? I mean, the match had already started. They were fighting in the ring. That's the part that just didn't make any sense. But eventually what happened was Ali hit a plancha to the outside, but then Zelina caught him with a flying head scissors, and that allowed Andrade to get back in the ring and hit the hammerlock DDT for the 3 count of the victory. And my phone just went off. I watched the end of the Monday Night Football game. So that's probably what that's the Bleacher Report app there. It's here that we do get kind of some interesting draft picks on this, because the first pick for Raw after this was the Kabuki Warriors, who are the Women's Tag Team Champions. Now, they did explain that as the Women's Tag Team Champions, they will still defend the championships on both shows, but as soon as they lose those championships, they will be exclusive to Raw. And I am counting this as a draft pick because I do believe they were exclusive to SmackDown going into this. After that, Daniel Bryan was picked by SmackDown, Rusev was picked by Raw, Bayley was picked by SmackDown, and Aleister Black was picked by Raw. And I'm not entirely sure. I believe Aleister Black was on SmackDown, so I'll count that as a draft pick too. But other than that, again, we're getting really repetitive on this. After that, we had a Raw Tag Team Championship match. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus the Viking Raiders. Really darn good match throughout all of this. Dolph Ziggler hit a zigzag into the Timekeepers area, and Eric from the Viking Raiders hit his head on a chair. And they were fighting through this. Eric kicked out of a glorious DDT and a Famouser, and got the tag to Ivar, and the Viking Raiders hit the Viking Experience for the 3 count of the victory. They hit it on Ziggler, and they are now the Raw Tag Team Champions. And this will actually pay off at some point, a little bit later. So, going into this, after that we get the next pick, which is Cedric Alexander, the Raw. He was already on Raw. Shinsuke Nakamura to SmackDown. And then we got Humberto Carrillo to Raw. So that's at least another draft pick out of that from the 205 Live pool. Ali to SmackDown. And then we have our first tag team breakup, as Eric Rowan has been drafted to Raw, but Luke Harper, at least as of this point, is still on SmackDown. After that, we had Aleister Black versus Eric Young. Young also did not get an entrance. Black has his new submission hold, which is kind of a standing Dragon Sleeper, and it's called the Dark Ritual. And he locked that on Young, who tapped out. So there's a few other things been happening throughout the night. I'll get to that when we get to them, okay? After that, the next pick is Buddy Murphy, who's going to Raw from SmackDown, so I'll count that. Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler are going to SmackDown now, so that tag team, I said Bobby, it's Robert, I know. They're going to SmackDown, so I guess that explains why they lost the tag team championships. After that, Jinder Mahal is going to Raw. I can't remember if he had gone to SmackDown or not. He was on Raw last year, and I know he got hurt this year, and that's what's kind of throwing me off, because he's on the shelf. And then we had another team breakup, which is Carmella is going to SmackDown, but R-Truth is going to Raw. Then we had a little backstage vignette with the Street Profits. They bumped into the OC, and the OC attacked them. Later, the Street Profits challenged them to a six-man tag match. That'll be next week, with a mystery partner. Then we got Ricochet versus Shelton Benjamin, who also didn't get an entrance. Weird thing going on with this show sometimes. Like, it was an okay match, not a total squash like the other ones, but this one at least, Benjamin got in some good offense. He went for the Super Exploder, but Ricochet rolled out of it and hit the recoil for the 3 count of the victory. So after that, we have Samoa Joe being selected by Raw. I believe he was on Raw originally. Again, that wildcard rule can throw things out. Also, he's on the shelf. He's rehabbing a thumb injury. But yeah, as of this point, he's been drafted to Raw. The Miz going to SmackDown. That's an actual draft pick. Akira Tozawa going to Raw. That's an actual draft pick. King Corbin going to SmackDown. That's an actual draft pick. And Shelton Benjamin to Raw. So I guess that they said that match impressed. Hopefully that means they'll actually use him, and he won't just sit there and make a weird face before cutting to a commercial break. Like I said, he can still go. I mean, even that tag team he had with Chad Gable, even though like they didn't, I don't think they ever reached their fullest potential. He still showed flashes of brilliance, so he can still work. So hopefully that means they'll use him. Also, before that, they did the Tyson Fury Braun Strowman contract signing, but I don't care about contract signings, I never will. After that, we had Buddy Murphy taking on Cedric Alexander. Murphy hit the Liger Bomb, and then the Murphy's Law for the 3 count. And then they announced for a couple matches They announced a match for Crown Jewel. So Seth Rollins is supposed to be on Team Hogan versus Team Flair in the 5 against 5 tag match. But then they've also announced that Seth Rollins will be taking on The Fiend for the Universal Championship in a no-holds-barred Falls Count Anywhere match. And then after that, but The Fiend just got drafted to SmackDown. So I have no idea what's going on there. And that sets up our last set of draft picks for the evening. Rey Mysterio is going to Raw. He was already on Raw. Chad Gable is going to SmackDown. He was already on SmackDown. Tyler O'Neill is going to Raw. He was already on Raw. Elias is going to SmackDown. He was already on SmackDown. Liv Morgan is going to Raw from SmackDown, the only real draft pick. Yeah. Though I will say this, after the final round, they went to Renee Young and Booker T, and Booker T said that on WWE Backstage, they're going to announce possibly a big trade that's going to happen. But that's after Game 3 of the American League Championship Series, so yeah, technically it would normally be on at like 9 or 10 o'clock, but I guess that means it will be on at like 2 a.m. Baseball always overruns everything. After that, we had the Kabuki Warriors taking on Natalya and a mystery partner. The mystery partner turned out to be Lacey Evans. So I guess I don't know if they're necessarily a tag team now because Lacey Evans is going to SmackDown, but apparently this was a way to bury the hatchet between Natalya and Lacey Evans. During the match, Kairi Sane was wearing a shirt. She had her normal ring gear, and her ring gear normally has the top and then this kind of strap that goes down the middle. And the strap was still going down the middle, but she had a shirt on over the top, basically. And usually that's done if something's happened where there's some stitches or something, just in case they open up, they don't want anyone bleeding. So that was kind of weird. I didn't hear anything in between happening to Kairi Sane. Basically, it was a really darn good match to end the show. The end of match is part of the show. But basically what happened was Evans was starting to rally a little bit. Kairi Sane hit a maneuver. Asuka managed to blind tag Sane so that when Sane tried to go for the insane elbow, but Lacey Evans rolled out of the way and hit the women's right on Sane, Asuka slipped into the ring and got a roll-up on Evans for the 3 count of the victory. Like I said, it was a really good match, and then it kind of came to this abrupt end because throughout the night they've been teasing a Firefly Funhouse segment from Bray Wyatt, and Seth Rollins, because he was the first draft pick, said, you know what, I'm going to find Bray Wyatt and we're going to settle this. And basically Bray was coming in, he was talking about like, oh, don't worry, everyone says Seth Rollins is so mean, but I know he's really a nice guy and everything. And then Ramblin' Rabbit pops up and says, do you understand, man? Seth Rollins is coming here, we gotta get out. We're like, well, don't worry, you just get to safety, everything will be fine. And then Rollins attacks Bray, and they're fighting, yeah, and he's knocking him down and everything. And Bray looks up, he's like, Seth, why are you doing this, man? What are you doing? And again, Rollins just continues to attack Bray, and then finally Rollins goes, burn it down, and he proceeds to burn down the Firefly Funhouse. And that's how the show ended. Show was weird. I'm sorry. It was, like I said, the draft itself was just bad. Again, like, I thought they had a chance to improve things, and they really didn't. Again, superstars not switching brands shouldn't count as draft picks. Like they say, if you don't get picked, you're on the brand, okay? And also, your champions shouldn't be up unless it's the undercard belts, like, you know, the U.S. and Intercontinental Championships. Other than that, there's no real excuse for any of it just didn't make a lick of sense. Like, it should have been more sort of the open pool, free agency type stuff. Not this. This was just horrendous. And again, the fact that they just really didn't improve on the delivery system at all for it. Overall, though, there were parts of the matches were good, but there were way too many squash matches with jobber entrances going on. It wore thin. It wore thin really quick. The 2 tag matches, the Raw Tag Team Championship match and the women's tag match were both really solid matches. The women's match at the start of the show was alright. It could have been better. It was kind of lacking. So, unfortunately, I am going to have to give night 2 of the WWE Draft a D. Like I said, it didn't really seem to work out. Hopefully, if they do this again, they'll find a way to figure this out, too. I would say I was intrigued by the WWE Backstage trade announcement, but like I said, because it's going to be on after a baseball game, it's going to be super late. So, anyway, like I said, hopefully the next video will be the Gemini Man review. If not, the next video after that is going to be the Maleficent Mistress of Evil review, and then the random trade review on Invincible Iron Man: The Five Nightmares. See you all next time. Are you tired of me constantly talking only about WWE and NXT? Want to see me expand my wrestling coverage? Check out my Patreon at Sleepytime for Cat Productions. Also, remember, if you like the video, give it a like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.